Hello boys and girls, my name is Adam Nicholas for WhatCulture.com.
I'm Michael Sidgwick for WhatCulture.com.
And we have got all of your news today, but we're not going to even give you a breakdown because we're going to dive straight into what happened last night from Monday Night Raw. Michael Sidgwick, Jesus Christ. How do we even start talking about this wedding?
Well, thanks for putting us on the spot, mate. I'll try and go chronologically for you. You've obviously seen it or you've read about it, but here's the chronology. Lana and Bobby Lashley attempt to get married. During the vows, the minister or the priest or the vicar or whatever he is, attempts to say like, oh, you know, you're going to get some kids. And she's like, no, this is sort of a platform for her to go, I don't want kids, it's all about me. Me. She says the words, it's what about me, more than Dolph Ziggler did earlier this summer.
When Emma's whole gimmick was, it's all about me. This is literally what she spent the whole wedding doing. Imagine if this was an actual wedding and that was how your vows and whole commentary went. It was nuts. The amount of interruptions that happened in this wedding are staggering, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, my favourite bit, so after they do the vows, Lana's written Bobby Lashley the exact same vows, which are all about how great Lana is.
Of course.
In theory, this is actually quite funny, right? In theory. Bobby Lashley, she can't wait to kiss Bobby Lashley, a hot, sexy boyfriend with his massive cock, which we've all been known to have learned about via subtext in a massage segment. She couldn't wait to kiss him. But the problem is that Lashley's makeup rubbed off on her face, so there's a fantastic comedy visual. The only legit funny thing, and they didn't mean for it to happen, I believe first, Lana's first husband came out, and then he was like swiftly met with a chokeslam from Bobby Lashley, and then in a 30-minute chronically bad segment, the only on-purpose bit of good comedy timing happened when Lashley's first wife came out, and before she could barely even say anything, Lana just ran up and slapped her off the apron. That was actually well-timed comedically. That was the only thing we got. And then...
Now, hang on. Before we dive into this and then...
Yes.
There's been something we've all been even not excited, intrigued about, is that fair to say? Regarding a certain return that might have been coming in a certain capacity that we were looking forward to, and the intrigue was massive. However, Michael Sidgwick.
Are you having a nice Sister Abigail, aye? You're having a nice Sister Abigail, aye? Because she's not Sister Abigail.
Oh, God.
She is...
Come on.
Liv Morgan is Lana's ex-lesbian lover, and she came to interrupt the wedding to disclose this information.
How? Just to clarify, don't change the channel. This is 2019. You are on What Culture Wrestling. What is going on in the world, Michael Sidgwick? What is this?
Right.
Because, I'm going to let you finish. But there's layers. I'm going to let you finish. But there are layers to this of pure ridiculousness. Go on.
I'm trying to unpack it. I think you're making out to be more complex than it actually is, right?
It's true.
I think it's quite simple. You've got Hot Blonde A, who's straight in real life. Hot Blonde B, who's straight in real life. On screen, they're hot, they're lesbians, and this was action-packed. That's
action-packed, yeah.
That's the premise of this entire thing. You've got two hot blondes who are lesbians. So in addition to the news, of course, that Liv Morgan has returned as Lana's lesbian lover, both Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville were subtweeting very explicitly, as explicit as a subtweet can get, about how they were like displeased by all this because they had pitched a similar LGBTQ storyline to unfold on WWE TV this year. It was the kibosh was put on that, and they've instead given the storyline to a straight woman, and there's nothing progressive or anything about this. It's shock value, sex appeal, bollocks.
Numerous people have had their say on Twitter about this. Obviously, you've got like a mash of weird stuff here because, as you can imagine, probably on the board that was there when they were talking about this, I think Michael Hamflett was literally tweeting about it yesterday. There were probably just 3 letters that just said HLA, and that was them thinking, we're going to smash it tonight, this is going to be no problem. But the fact you've already got a disgruntled Sonya Deville, obviously, is going to be upset about this, probably going to be offended by this, quite heavily. The choices they've made with this particular scenario, for literally shock value, as Joey Ryan was pointing out on Twitter, it's literally there for the moment of, oh, shock, like it wasn't Bobby, it was Lana, and that is so, it's so depreciative of the whole thing, surely. It's just...
I know, if it was Sonya Deville, she could surely like inject such a storyline with like actual authenticity and passion, whereas I was just like, this is the most artless thing I've ever seen. And to be honest, like, away from the furore of like just how bad it was and how it reflects so poorly on WWE's creative and how realistically the ultimate objective is to get new fans because that fan base is crumbling. I don't think this is it, Chief. But away from all that, like, I was just overjoyed at how bad this was. I was captivated. That was the whole premise of the angle. Let's not get too moralistic about this. This, for better or worse, is the stuff that we live for, and there's absolutely no denying that whatsoever. Everyone wants a take. Everyone wants to get involved in the discourse. It's hilarious that this happened. I'm overjoyed that it happened. This is our life. Just deal with it, guys. This is what we live for.
I would say you can't really... WWE have been consistent, yeah? You can't, as much as you might not have liked it, they've been consistent with their own terrible, ridiculous hilarity that we've seen over the last couple of years, particularly get turned up to 11 since we've had this injection of mad cash, which means you don't have to care anymore.
Yes.
But you're focusing on the guys who are involved. Obviously, Lana, Lashley, right at the centre of it. Later on, we got Rusev coming out of a cake, just to add.
Of course.
Because we've already had the 2 interruptions from the ex-husbands and wives. Then we get Liv Morgan, whose return was excited. Everybody was wanting to see what was going to happen. She turns up. They were all dressed for the wedding, which was baffling enough because...
Speaking of dressed, guess what Liv Morgan wore?
Come on then.
A suit. Because that's what they wear, pal.
I thought you were meaning it was going to be a specific kind of suit from this one thing that was meant to be a deeper meaning. Nope, it was just a suit.
It's a suit because that's what they wear, pal.
Exactly.
Ellen wears a suit, so she. Liv Morgan must therefore wear a suit. I love how... There's a little bit of subtlety to this.
To be fair, she'd taken half of Bobby Lashley's approach, who was wearing just a waistcoat. She had like one arm missing, which was...
I think they just wanted to see a little bit of flesh. I'm surprised there wasn't more cleavage, to be honest.
That was, for WWE, that was probably the most surprising part of the whole thing.
But on their curve, top marks for subtlety.
Yeah, true. I mean, you got Rusev came out of the cake, we then had Lashley destroyed, we had Lana put into the cake.
Oh, of course
Of course we did.
She didn't even commit to the bit. It was so tentative. No. Just put your face in the bloody cake.
For it. It looked quite complicated though, I have to say, because there was obviously a layer to it where he'd come out of, so it was like, that's cake, but it was also wood. Like, there was a...
That just smash your face in.
Just commit.
I mean, she commits to her verbals, I will say that.
She does. In fairness, if nothing else, she has found the character, and she's certainly committed to it, and we can't argue with that.
It's just a crap Vicky Guerrero.
It's not great.
Crap Vicky Guerrero. That great and heel heat, except the delivery's so poor that it sort of comes back around itself to just become simply grating.
I think taking out all of that, so we got all of this stuff. There was a little video posted on WWE's YouTube, the aftermath of the wedding, after the show had gone off the air, which really, for me, highlighted where, like, yes, all right, we'll give them that, whatever. Like, there's lots of problems with it, as we're going to hear about from the internet for the rest of the week. But the stuff that was the most frustrating is post-show, Rusev's getting all the spotlight, essentially, which I guess it has been his storyline so far. But you have brought Liv Morgan back for this moment to try and, this is her big reveal, this is her coming back, and she's been patient according to her. This was her striking when she wanted to strike and get her revenge. But ultimately, she just looked lost out there. She looked completely disinterested, really. She was just kind of standing around smiling and looking about while Rusev was trying his best to do things with wedding cake and all sorts. I appreciate the show had technically gone off the air, but this is not great to be putting this out to help her in any way.
I'm not one of her stans. I do think there's potential in the performer, but her performance on the mic was, in my opinion, absolutely dreadful. And one take I would just like to pop that balloon is that people are saying, oh, this is getting Rusev really over. Well, I watched TLC, I watched that tables match, and no one give a toss about it. So it matters. Yeah. It's over if it's over when the bell rings, and if it ain't over when the bell rings, it ain't over.
Fair point. Shall we move on to why potentially this could have happened the way, well, it wasn't getting much better, but really, let's be honest. But little update on what was going on with Vince McMahon and Triple H.
Triple H wasn't there outright. Vince McMahon didn't arrive until a few minutes before showtime. I don't know if there's anything in that other than, for me, well, it depends on what kind of perspective I take on this. Either, if you want to take
both. Give us both.
Okay. If you want to act about WWE's main roster creative product in good faith. It's possibly a worrying omen that he turned up late and he hasn't been a regular fixture backstage on Raw because obviously his attention is very divided with the imminent launch of the XFL. But so possibly that accounted for it. He's an incredibly busy man heading into 2020. XFL's due to launch in February. He's been a sporadic presence. So you could be scared about the nature of the product. Is it going to get even more scattershot? Is he going to be even more distant from the point in the pulse of the audience? Or is it going to get even more brilliantly chaotic? If you accept the fact that this company's creative is institutionally rotten, lean into your schadenfreude impulses, enjoy how bad it is on the basis of a schedule, last night's closing segment, the launch of the XFL. It's about to get a whole hell of a lot worse. Enjoy it, it's fun.
It is, and after, to be fair, we said after that WrestleMania where we got everything we wanted pretty much. We said there was going to be a catch. We said probably about 5 years of madness, and we're not even into 1 year of madness yet, and I'd say this is the trajectory we're probably heading on. And if you're not on board with it, then, well, more fool you at this point, I think, because everything's been pointing in that direction. You kind of just have to go with it, I think, at this point, right?
Do you know what happens when you get what you want? Do you want to know what happens?
Do you want to know what happens? There he is.
You don't.
You don't. You don't get what you want at all. So no Triple H, well, no Vince McMahon until last minute, no Triple H, no Kevin Dunn either.
No,
is that
I think
right?
it was Paul Heyman who mostly oversaw the show, and it was basically a very Paul Heyman show. There's some great wrestling, some wildly pathetic but captivating soap opera. It was basically SmackDown 2002, 2003, but in 2019.
So it wasn't all doom and gloom, I suppose. The wedding is distracted away from it. Well, we can get into other stuff, but I'm sure we're going to cover all of that later on the Raw Review podcast. The last good little trinket we have from last night's Monday Night Raw.
The only good trinket.
The only good, well, don't forget I understand plan anyway. That was good as well.
Listen to our review of that on the podcast.
Absolutely. But Becky Lynch and Asuka, we've been seeing all of this build up for, well, I guess technically over a year now, really.
Yes.
We were getting suggestions that there was going to be a match between the two after Becky's promo last week. It seemed like it was all set to go. Well, we had official confirmation this week by the man herself in an interview backstage with Charlie Caruso on Monday Night Raw to say that at the Royal Rumble on January 26th, she will go one-on-one with Asuka. It was interesting this because while I kind of understood what they were trying to put across, and Becky's the man and she's against the man, and before she gets a new contract, she wants to get rid of the demon of not being able to be Asuka. How did you find this promo in general? Because I kind of struggled with not what you were saying, I guess more the how, maybe.
I just think they had a perfect story and it's in danger of getting convoluted. They had a story, right? I have framed this as accidental Gedo booking. Gedo, who books New Japan Pro Wrestling brilliantly, will often throw a little defeat in a performer's sort of career, and then they'll revisit that months later with stakes when one of the guy who's lost is on the ascendancy and he has to revisit that defeat to go further up the ladder. This is very much accidental Gedo booking. They've realised, oh, hang on, Asuka holds a pretty big major win over Becky Lynch, so they've used the continuity of that to inform this storyline, and I think that was enough. Basically, you had Becky Lynch who wants to do a very babyface thing. She doesn't feel whole as the man because that loss has kind of diluted her appeal, in her opinion. She wants to avenge it. It's proper, humble, great, spirited babyface stuff. And now with this whole contract situation, and she might leverage her power to get what she wants. It's like, don't add an unnecessary powers that be element into it. And if you see what other guys do to warrant a title shot or to make an impromptu match for right now, she doesn't need at all to go to these lengths. She can just go, Asuka, come out of the ring. We'll do a promo battle. Asuka will come out. They'll have a bit of banter back and forth, and then a match can be made like that. I hate it when they betray the crap that they do to try and build a storyline, because really, most of the time, it's completely unnecessary. You've got a babyface who wants to avenge a loss. In the process, she's building this heel as a monster who she can't surmount to become the best version of herself. Brilliant, brilliant story, authentic, leave it at that.
Absolutely, don't add complexities, I guess, to something which can be as simple as possible. But that's all the big things we have to talk about in terms of the news. We do have a few Twitter questions or messages, which you might want to dive into today.
Sorry for not being Andy Murray.
Well,
you might not want to know.
We can't all be Andy Murray, do you know what I mean? But I'm sure either way, they'll still tweet you and tell you how much you were wrong either way. Indeed. Same kind of thing.
One's enough.
First question of the day comes from Broken Haley. Thank you for the question, Haley, who says, is there, and this probably is quite a fitting question for today, is there any way to salvage Liv Morgan's return after this, or is it another case of WWE blowing a comeback that should have been an easy win?
It's a strange one, this, because I know earlier I said that Rusev didn't get a reaction at TLC, and therefore that is the metric you have to gauge the success of his return. But if you look at where he started in this entire storyline, looking like a complete sad sack cook, to the reactions he's been getting ahead of TLC, I don't think a disaster is a permanent disaster in WWE anymore. The whole approach to booking is so disposable. The take culture is so volatile and erratic that they could do something next week and all of this will be forgiven. So I don't think all hope is lost just yet.
No, I would agree. I think it's not a great start. Obviously, I think the hardest part here has been that everybody's been so committed to this idea she was going to be Sister Abigail or whatever kind of capacity she was going to be, potentially working with Bray Wyatt. She didn't really do herself many favours with all these cryptic tweets that suggested that. Hopefully there's a way back. This is not a great start though, and I don't want to say it's completely over, but I also think this is it's a big blow for her, let's be honest, coming out. She's probably going to be looking at that thinking, ugh.
True, but there's precedent in this very storyline to suggest that not all hope is lost, and this is me saying
I know, if he's saying not all hope is lost, there's certainly a little glimmer or a sliver for somebody. Just a little one. The next question, and our last one for today, comes from Bradley Oldfield, who says, hey guys, what do you think of, with Seth's new heel gimmick, obviously, Seth the Chef, of course, as Andy Murray would call it, getting rid of his Burn It Down in the middle of his theme and just replacing it with the actual song, thus cementing his heel run, and the fans can't scream the Burn It Down that they love so much?
It's a bit different to
the Nakamura situation.
Yes, it's very different. It's similar, but it's also very different. I would prefer, because I always think of someone like Sami Zayn, who I adore in this instant, if in fact they kept and retained the Burn It Down thing, just the sight of Seth Rollins like camping it up and doing it as loud as he can to try and like pretend that he's still on board with the fans, I think that would be good, obnoxious, tremendous bit of business. So it feels like I would have preferred that, but at the same time, it was lame as all hell. So it's probably for the best.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say, I'd probably go with you on that one, because thinking of him all very, very smug Seth, very heel, and this thing that was essentially, at one point, there was definitely a point where Burn It Down was a thing that people were really enjoying. They were saying it alongside of his stomps and all that kind of thing.
But they still hate him.
I know, but
they
still said it and they still do it.
Seals.
So I get the feeling really that leaving it in there is probably not a bad idea, you know. Not a bad idea. Anyway, let us know your thoughts on everything from today's news. I know we've got a bit rambly there, but when someone has a wedding like that, what are you supposed to do? Just go, next question. Don't think so, pal. Anyway, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and share. You can follow us on all the usual places. WWE, WhatCulture at Twitter. Let's try again. You can follow WhatCulture on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. You can follow this lovely man on Twitter
at M Sidgwick.
Excellent. You can follow me on Twitter at It's Adam Nicholas. You can follow us on all sorts of things like podcasts. Don't forget to go on and listen to all these things that we're doing. They're lovely. Just as good in your ears as they are in your eyes, Michael Sidgwick. That's it for today's news. We will see you all next time.